This is a report to members of the Constitution Party, and especially its chairman, Jim Clymer. It is May 1st, so we're doing an April report, and I am Mark Stewart. We are following a short meeting that some members attended on Zoom. So the recap of what happened there. The first item was a possible site for emanating online candidates, and possibly, if the party approves, our provisional nominations for candidates who would be in the cabinet and provisionally, maybe even permanently, are candidates for president and vice president. The spot to emanate from and maybe attend will be Philadelphia, okay? It's been agreed, and we do have a date. There was no dissent here. Saturday, July 15th. Whether we have assemblies on the 14th, Friday, or anything on the 13th, up to us for later. The place, Independence Hall. If you haven't been there, I actually went on the way home from the St. Louis convention. It's a perfect place for candidates of our party running in races in 2023 and 2024 to meet people, some from their home districts, there won't be a lot, but to get great photo opportunities with the many people who are attending. There's school kids are going to be there. There's adult voters who are going to be there. There are people dressed in 1770s garb that put on tours. You could get photo opportunities with any of them. You can introduce yourself to voters with a great backdrop. That would be Independence Hall on one end, and yes, the Constitution Center on the other end. In the middle is a very good spot if party members want to assemble. It's the Visitor Center, and upstairs there's a Liberty plank where they call it Liberty View. Nice view of the grounds, and a working room where we could have meal, and we can do business. It's a little more expensive than the typical hotels that the party has used, but it might be worth it. So July 15th, maybe 14th, maybe 13th, to be announced. Number 2 item, has anyone facilitated who's in this party meetings at a public school? Because these two are good venues for us to meet voters and media. So nobody from the party stepped up. I'm not in the party technically. I'm working on it. But I have facilitated one type of school gathering. It's called the Government Information Forums, TGIF. And it might be worth looking into. TGIFvoter.com is where some past debates were held for a governor's race. And it's something that somebody in each state might want to facilitate wherever we have a governor candidate, because the forums were debates. They were moderated by school kids, either high school or college kids. Sometimes you could get a prominent local media person as a third moderator, add some clout, and get you broadcast afterwards. The beauty of it is you end up not with just Republicans debating, not with just Democrats debating. It's any party, including ours. And ours then has an equal standing, which we don't get anywhere else. So we have a format for it, but you could use any format you want, and please consider it. Another possible meeting wasn't quite at a school, but it was raised at a school board's meeting. And I've been to a few, I'm sure a lot of you have, decent for not changing a school board's mind. That doesn't happen, okay? They're entrenched. They dutifully let people comment, but then they go behind their own closed doors for executive session if there's anything that they don't want the rest of us to hear. But it is a way to stand up in front of a decent audience, a concerned audience, on a topic that we're certainly going to be good at, okay? If the school's bringing up anything about choice of X, permissions for Y, masking if it has to come up again, boys and girls locker rooms, men in women's sports, whether you could opt out and go to some private school for part of your curriculum, or God forbid, all of your curriculum. All of these topics really good for one of us to stand up and let voters in the audience see. Sometimes they're covered by media as well. Third that was covered is suggestions you have for reaching big people. These are heavyweights from business, from elections. I was suggesting some Republicans who might not want to be on their ship the whole way. We had no suggestions for that. So the good news there is that for provisional nominations, if we go that route, we can still nominate cabinet people even without their assent. Okay? These are the women and men that we would like to see. And maybe they haven't assented yet, but at least the public knows where we stand about good, principled constitutionalists that we would like to see in power, hopefully with us running the ship. The final one was effective ways to reach Republican voters. Well, that dovetails with the school board meeting suggestion. That's a public forum. Another that came up is at athletic events, school events typically, where parents, they can't be watching their kid the whole time. Half of them, their kids are on the bench anyway. And even when their kids are on the field, a lot of parents are kind of bored and they'd rather be doing something else. So it is possible to engage parents, but it's more one-on-one. I think it's not as fruitful as staying home and trying to make connections by phone and online, but it was put out there. I'm dutifully throwing it out myself. One other where I do have experience, and it's very good, but it's a little late, it is during primaries or municipal elections in November for the 2023 offices. That is kind of late for our outreach because we did resolve to at least call for candidates now. So that's where I'll conclude, that this is the time for everyone that can contact 2, 3, 4 other people, asking them, as our letter has said, do you want to run for an office in 2023 or 2024 or even 2026, so that we have a bevy of people. The ones that are really eager, we could slot on a national basis. And remember, you don't have to have big clout. There are a lot of, I call them school board moms, who speak out effusively. And in my mind, that's eloquent enough. The passion, and they don't have to be loquacious. They just exude clarity and passion, and we end up with a very forceful person. So you don't have to stretch far, stretch near, and hopefully with multiple people to tell them the Constitution Party wants you. Would you like to be a candidate somewhere in the next 3 years? All right, so that's our call for candidates. Jim, thanks for listening here. Everyone who's receiving this, please know that it is, for now, my email address, that any nominated candidates, all it takes is one of you. We'll need a second by the time we go around to formally do it. And then where there's competition, we need a vote. But until then, that email is libertymsg@gmail.com. And please, let's use the next 2 weeks to get out our word that the Constitution Party is in play.